Hey guys, Ron here, and the more evolutions the merrier. I mean, Eevee and its evolved forms are some of the most popular Pokemon after all. Sometimes a branched evolutionary family helps make an entire line iconic and fleshes out the world of Pokemon. We definitely need more, and lo and behold, my job is to create Fakemon, so I'm gonna do that. I've already done this with starter Pokemon, so let's extend the love to some regular old wild Pokemon. If you haven't seen the previous starter split evolution videos, do that, please. Keep in mind, I stayed away from Pokemon of whom many artists already created tons of fan split evolutions of. For example, there are plenty of good male Salandit Evos online, so why make my own when it would look the same? So let's begin with the line whose final evolution I actually quite like, the Zubat line. And by like, I mean like I really love Golbat. It's in my top 10 favorite Pokemon. I think it's incredibly cool and exactly the type of Pokemon I like. So why in the world would I give Golbat the option to not evolve into that? Because I think the progression from Golbat to Crobat is a bit unconventional. Zubat goes from having no legs to having legs to, once again, having underdeveloped legs. While Crobat is technically larger than Golbat, it doesn't look that way at first glance. And honestly, I think there isn't really a consistent theme among them. They're just bats in different configurations. Golbat already has the vampire bat aesthetic, and I want to fully realize that. I'll give it an evolved form that feels like a natural progression from Golbat, based on vampires, and even the Japanese myth of old bats turning into flying squirrels. I'm not going to make it a flying squirrel, but I do want to introduce the fur to my evolution, because I can't even tell what texture Golbat has, despite real bats being very furry, especially the old world fruit bats. Originally it was going to look more like a fruit bat with a long snout, but I wanted it to feel closer to Golbat than Crobat does, so instead I modeled the body to look more like a buffer Golbat with a closed mouth. Now that it has vampire attributes, it will look more civilized, and that also ties in with Golbat's feet. Instead, since Golbat gains feet, this evolved form actually stands on the ground a lot. It's a more developed Golbat. That's why now it has a bat nose, some chest fur to mimic a vampire's cravat, and fur on its collar to mimic a vampire's cape. Its wings are simply a Golbat's wings, with claws and spikes. Same thing for the feet. I wanted this to look extremely natural and minimal, like something Game Freak would have designed in its earlier years. Its colors are pretty much darker Golbat instead of inverted like Crobat. Beware, Grabat, the bat Pokemon, from Grab, Grand, and Bat, a poison flying type Pokemon with the abilities Infiltrator and Pressure. It evolved from Golbat with high friendship at night while playing in the next generation's equivalent of Pokemon Camp. Grabat leads a colony of Zubat, who they direct in a tornado that consumes anything it encircles. Grabat is a generous leader that feeds its underlings well. However, Grabat will not drink any old blood. It prefers to dine on only the freshest and strongest of prey. Its fur collar funnels sound waves into its ears so it can locate even the furthest of prey. Grabat is incredibly intelligent and considers itself equal to humans, even preferring to walk in their presence. It loves to show off strategy in battle and will diligently work with its trainer to perfect its battle prowess. There is no escape from its sharp talons. Its glare petrifies all beneath it. Its shiny looks way more monstrous. I love Pokemon with distinct, sinister personalities. It reminds me of one of my favorite Pokemon too, Malamar, and that shade of blue looks appetizing, like blueberry candy. Next is the Slacking line. Again, another iconic family with no real flaw, unless you believe Truant has no business existing. The thing is, what if we gave Vigoroth an evolved form that doesn't have a terrible ability? A proper evolution. You see, Slackoth is lazy, Vigoroth is energetic, and Slacking is lazy again. How about we give Vigoroth a reason to calm down after evolving instead of just laziness? I think motherhood makes the most sense. I'm gonna make a Slack Queen, because I mean we need at least one responsible parent. It'll still be super powerful to showcase the strength of a mother. So I want to give it the vibe of a female gorilla walking through the jungle. She'll have Vigoroth's hair, but longer, like female Pyroar's mane. Fangs like Vigoroth, but a sloth nose like Slacking. The problem is that there's no point in it just looking like a wider Vigoroth, since that's barely an evolution, but I also don't want it to look too brutish like Slacking, so finding the right female caveman vibe will be key. Instead of having her entire chest exposed, I'm going to extend her neck fur and continue modeling the body after Slacking's. Since the chest looks extremely empty, and right now it's also looking like a Vigoroth Slacking hybrid, I want to add something new, like a chest pattern that subtly looks like a heart, but the face still looks too much like a Slacking, so I'm going to do a pro gamer move and change her eye rings a bit to look slightly more feminine. You know, in the tropey way. To finish off the piece, a Slackoth hanging onto its mother. This fits so well with their sloth origins. The configuration of the colors were tough to come up with. I even made it redder in the final design. Check out Slackqueen, the parental Pokemon, a normal fighting type with the ability Klutz. It evolved from a female Vigoroth after being traded with a male Vigoroth or Slacking while holding a lounge incense. Slackqueen are incredibly powerful, yet use most of their strength to constantly take care of their children. They are astonishingly gentle for their size, but will not hold back if their children are in danger. In battle, they swing their arms using a special form that prevents any damage to their offspring. They climb mountains to give their children beautiful views and experiences. Slaking are known to listen to the commands of Slackqueen. They will retaliate if Slacking plays with Slackoth a bit too roughly. Its shiny is pink. Looks fun. I like the idea of finally being able to fully utilize Slackoth's strength. I mean, despite it having a much lower base stat total than Slacking, it still has legendary level stats, so I gave it a slightly detrimental ability for what is practically a legendary Pokemon you can easily acquire.
Who's that Pokemon? It's Secret.
Secret.
Now we're going to give a split evolution to a Pokemon who already evolves into one of two forms. Espurr sometimes outshines Meowstic, in my mind at least, but I still like the other two. The whole concept of this line is that Espurr struggles to maintain its immense psychic powers and gains full control upon evolving. But what if I made a gender-neutral evolved form of Espurr that actually doesn't control its powers? It just constantly unleashes psychic energy. While I don't know if it's going to be a fire type, I wanted to fully utilize fire type moves, in reference to the Renaissance festivity of cat burning. It was a cruel form of entertainment where Europeans would burn cats in a bonfire or strap like fire onto them, especially since back in medieval times, they basically associated cats with witchcraft and the devil. This makes even more sense as an inspiration since France practiced cat burning more than anyone else. So a cat that blows up everybody else is a sweet little revenge. Meowstic also have French clothing aesthetic, so I'm gonna take slight inspiration from Puss in Boots, an age-old fairy tale whose most popular version was written in France, other than DreamWorks. So again, I'm not making this Pokemon French for the sake of this video. It actually does make total sense in the Kalos region. Since I knew I wanted to give this guy boots, I originally designed it with slightly longer legs and a torso, but I resolved to end up giving it similar proportions to Meowstic and in respect Espurr, with nub hands and long ears with eyes on them. It'll be tough finding a shape for the eyes since both male and female Meowstic have different eyes, and I have to make sure I don't use their eyes and risk just making another Meowstic form. Split evolutions are tough because you can't make them seem too much like the other evolutions, even though that's the direction Game Freak set up the Prevo to go in. I'm gonna keep Espurr's tufts and make all of its fur go up, like it's always using its powers. It also makes it look like a demon. While I was designing it, all the extra frills and fur was inspired by fire and smoke, since I kinda wanted it to be a fire type, but it also works for the ghost typing, finally making its legs look more like boots, split cattails, and again, basically making sure that each pattern is consistent with the Meowstic forms, but also completely different. It's a whole juggling act. It's got a flame theme, while the hat, cape, and boots are straight from the Puss in Boots stories, refining it all while giving it gray to go between black and white Meowstic. The eye colors were also tricky since male Meowstic's eyes are blue and green, the females are yellow and red, so this one can't share any of these four primary colors. I ended up giving mine pink and purple eyes. Behold, Meowsma, the spontaneous Pokemon, from Meow and Miasma, the unpleasant vapor or atmosphere. A psychic ghost type with the abilities Keen Eye, Magic Bounce, and Magic Guard. It evolves from Espurr after defeating 25 Pokemon with the new move, Psychic Inferno, an 85 base power special move that has a 20% chance of burning. Meowsma evolves from Espurr, who cannot suppress their power and end up traumatically destroying those they love. These solitary Pokemon carry the souls they have defeated within them, further powering their psychic abilities. They do not hold back and are constantly releasing a wave of energy that messes with the gravity around them. Their gaze sets object ablaze. They are ruthless and enjoy the opportunity to defeat those who have instigated a fight with them. Their shiny is a bright golden fire. I've always loved Espurr. It's among my top 50 favorite Pokemon, so getting an evolved form that is more like it is a dream come true. And finally, Mareanie and its evolved form Toxapex are pretty. I love them. I love the idea and concept of its line. It's based on the Crown of Thorns starfish, so how about I give it a more royal looking evolved form, since I don't know if I'm allowed to just make it look like Jesus, but it kinda will end up looking like that. There is a select group of fans who don't like Toxapex because of how much it diverges from Mareanie, and they would have preferred it stay relatively feminine and have its main body grow instead of it shrinking. So that's what I'm gonna make. A grown-up Mareanie instead of a Toxapex, basically. So imagine a Mareanie as a queen chess piece. I gave it an actual crown for its origins namesake, and just elongated the thorny hair, which she uses like tentacles. I mean, I guess they are literally tentacles, they're like arms. She kind of looks like she was wearing a high fashion. I decided to give her a less scary mouth to differentiate it from Mareanie and Toxapex, but also so it's prettier and more refined. This is royalty after all, adding all the details, yet the final design is shorter since there was too much focus on her dress, which is kind of less important than her hair. Here's a more tropical and vibrant color scheme compared to Toxapex, whose colors are more muted and darker than Mareanie's. This is Toxempress, the Brutal Star Pokémon, a poison water type with the abilities Merciless, Limber, and Regenerator. It evolves from female Mareanie at level 38 in a region devoid of Corsola. Without any Corsola to feed on, Toxempress had to fight harder for new sources of food that happened to be more nutritious, contributing to its bigger size. It crawls along the shore on its 8 legs. It is a feared hunter. It will chase its prey and even break boulders with its sharp crown to locate its hiding food. It does not enjoy the chase, but it does what must be done when incredibly hungry. It would much rather be fed than hunted. Although it does not show it, Toxempress adores its trainer. Their shiny falls in line with the rest of the family. This is pretty much what I expected Mareanie to evolve into when it was first revealed, or leaked. The contrast between the colors and its personality, or its feminine shape and the deadly appearance, are very striking and make for a great Pokemon. And if you thought this video was great, leave a like and subscribe for more. Let me know how you'd create split Evos so I can steal your ideas for a part 2. Check out my other art videos and the description for my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early, which you can also do by clicking the join button. Make sure to follow me on Twitter for sneak peeks, and I'll see you guys very soon.